So now I'm going to dive into Notebook 1. Notebooks 1 through 6 are really our whirlwind tour of Julia's syntax, to give you a sense of how similar working with Julia might be to working in another high-level language like MATLAB or Python, for example. And so this Notebook 1 on getting started is where we'll see how to print in Julia, how to assign variables, how to comment, and what the syntax in Julia is for basic math. So first off, we often use this println function to print in Julia. And so when I do that, we're going to see that this string, I'm excited to learn Julia, gets printed to standard out. And then to assign variables in Julia, we don't need to say what the type of a variable is up front. We can just say, for example, my answer equals 42, and now I've created this variable called my answer, which Julia can tell is an int64. And we can see that by using this type of function called on the variable to see what the type of that variable is. We see here I'm creating this variable called mypi, which Julia can tell is a float 64. And in this third example of creating a variable here, I'm assigning the string smiley cat to the smiley cat emoji. And we can see here that smiley cat emoji is a string. Now, programming with emojis in Julia is a great example of a way in which Julia is generic. And I'll talk a little bit about more that in a second. But for now, one last thing to say about assigning variables in Julia is that if I were to reassign a variable of a given type to another value of a different type, there's no issue there. So for example, if we reassign smiley cat emoji to now equal a 1, and then ask for the type of smiley cat emoji, we can see that it's now an int64 rather than a string. And now back to this idea of genericity in Julia and being able to code in emojis, for example. The fact that we can use emojis in coding means that we can, for example, assign smiley face to a 0 and frowning face to a -1, and now we can create Boolean statements like the one that I show here, where we see that we've now taught Julia that smiley cat emoji plus frowning face equals a happy face. And that is a true statement now in our code. Okay, so how to comment in Julia? We can comment in Julia by using a hashtag or a # to generate a single line comment. So if I run this cell, nothing has really been executed. And we can generate multi-line comments by enclosing our multi-line comments inside a double, or rather a pair of # and a pair of equal signs. Now the syntax for basic math will probably look pretty familiar to most of you, with the difference, or the main difference that I'm able to identify being that if we want to exponentiate something in Julia, we use the caret sign. So we say 10^2 to get 10 squared rather than using the double star as is done in Python, for example. Otherwise, we have the plus sign for addition, the minus sign for subtraction, multiplication. Here we have division, and then this is the modulo operator that gives us the remainder when we divide by the number to the right of the percentage sign. All right, so that's it for Notebook 1.